share right now to Twitter?
No, I will send you.
Okay.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome again to this live stream on Syriana analysis. It's 9 p.m. here, Central European time, and 3 p.m. in Washington, D.C. Lucas Gage, you are a U.S. Marine Corps veteran, philosopher, and author of the book Thoughts and Reflections on Life. Thank you again for joining me on Syriana analysis. Today we have a really nice topics to chat about.
Good work. It's always a pleasure, my friend, to chat with you. So let's go.
Guys, before we start this conversation, the Twitter link of Lucas is in the description below. Please go hit him a follow, and also the link or his website where you can buy his book also in the description below. It would be really nice if you check it because he had two Twitter accounts and now people are mixing between them. Elon Musk finally released him from the jail
Hmm.
in his old account, so it would be nice if you hit him a follow.
Yep.
Lucas, lots in the United States, one of which is the issue of Ilhan Omar, lots of drama surrounding
Hmm.
it. The Republican led House of Representatives, they voted on Thursday to pass a resolution to remove the Democratic Representative Ilhan Omar from the powerful House Foreign Affairs Committee. Why the Republicans wanted to oust her? And is it true that the Israeli lobby played a role in ousting her?
Well, for those of us who truly understand how American foreign policy works, yeah, I would say 100% it has to do with APAC and other lobby groups that are pro Israeli. Ilhan Omar has been known for so called anti Semitic tropes and things like this. It's all about the Benjamins, and she apologized for them, saying she didn't understand the word the tropes. But what's interesting enough, they want to oust her from the committee, but then they've helped what's her name, Marjorie Taylor Greene, who said things
Mhm.
like Jewish space lasers, and her had her own little
What is
things that
Jewish space lasers? I've been hearing that
she
also a
she
lot
said
on.
that Rothschild space lasers were starting fires in California, and she didn't
Ah.
understand, or she said she didn't know Rothschild was in a Jewish banking family, but that's what. So it's kind of hypocritical that the Republic, oh, she's an anti-Semite, get her off the affair. But this is, of course, a power move. The Republicans have a slight majority, so they want to get their own people in there, and nobody cares about what's going on. But Ilhan has been in the headlines for saying things that are anti-Semitic, um, and I put it in quotes because I don't believe she hates Jewish people. I mean, I
Hmm.
that's what they always throw that word around just to it's a political weapon, honestly. And the APAC and the Israeli lobby, they're notorious to throw that word around. And any person who questions anything about Israel or any policies are going on, so absolutely, I believe 100% she was removed from that because of her anti-Israeli rhetoric from for her past. And my friend Cynthia McKinney, who used to be in Congress, former Congresswoman 6 times, she talks about the power of the Israeli lobby, and also late James Traficant, very patriotic guy, who's a Republican by the way. He also mentioned how powerful the lobby has over our foreign policy. So there's no question that they're absolutely one of the main reasons why. Plus, again, the Republicans want that advantage to have their people in these committees other than Democrats who could oppose
Hmm.
them for some reason.
Look, the Israeli part is completely undeniable in the United States, to be honest. But the motive from the Republican side, do you think it's only about Israel, but or also because she's a Muslim, she's wearing a hijab, she's like a a woman, dark skin of color, and all these, let's say, values that the Democrats believe in?
Yeah, it could be. I don't think it's anti-Muslim directly, but her values. Of course, she's left-wing. She's a Democrat. She's open borders, and the Republicans are going to oppose or seemingly oppose that. I personally don't believe that Republicans are like, okay, she's a Muslim, let's get rid of her. I hate Muslims.
Hmm.
I don't believe that. That's what they're saying it is, but I don't buy that. For me, it's 100% the Israeli lobbies like get rid of her. They've been trying to get rid of her for years, actually. And the new
Oh wow.
Speaker of the House, yeah, the new Speaker of the House said, well, let's get rid of her. So, that's what they did. They rallied up against her and they voted. And it was a slight, it was like 218 votes to 211 or something. It wasn't because all the Democrats opposed it.
Hmm.
But yeah, the majority Republicans of the House, they got what they wanted. So
Hmm.
I don't believe it's because she's black. We had a black president. I don't think racism is systemic in Congress or anything like that whatsoever. But that's what she's arguing. It's because I'm a Muslim, because my skin is dark. I don't buy that at all whatsoever. I do not think the Republican Party is inherently racist, but their policies do appeal more to so-called white people in America. So there is that kind of implicit, that's the party for white people kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Why do
So
you think it's more attractive for the white people in the United States? But I will come also to a follow-up question for that because I'm seeing another phenomenon as well.
sure, sure. So I think it's because of the conservative values of apparently closing the border, our heritage, our past, our history, whereas the left is, and by the way, most normal liberals, like the ones that existed in 1991 that were like, they don't, we're seeing like the extreme left, like erase statues, hate speech laws. That's not what a liberal is. So liberals, like even Bill Maher is like, this is getting out of control. Gender identity, this is not liberal values, but we are seeing this extreme left coming out and saying erase the statues, get rid of the Washington Monument, whatever, everything's racist, white people are evil. That's not liberalism in the classical sense. So that's why people are going to the right. And like you saw, Tulsi Gabbard, she left the Democratic Party. She's like, this is out of control. This wokeness is out of control. So that's why white people mostly go to the Republican Party because they're more conservative. They're not going to go with the anti-white, ultra left Democrat Party. Because I'm saying a lot of Democrats are not anti-white, but they might push white guilt and white
Mhm.
supremacy problems. So there's this identity politics in the United States is just a disaster anyway. But that's why I think most white people go Republican.
Do Americans know that the rest of the world make fun about the identity
I'm
politics?
sure they do. I'm sure. I'm sure the rest of the world is making
It's
fun of
like
us for a lot of things.
it's like a first world problem
Yeah,
for
it
for a
is
lot of
ridiculous.
people.
It is. No, it's sad because again, you know, uh, our country. I mean, I'm sure they're laughing at us in our military with the transgender surgeries and what is a woman. I mean, we have a documentary by Matt Walsh, which is a good one.
I
What is a
watched
woman?
that.
What is a woman? I mean, no one else. I mean, when he goes to Africa, they're like laughing. The tribesmen, like, what? This is ridiculous. So I understand how the whole planet is laughing at us for many reasons, including the race stuff. Of course, it is, but it's an old wound in our society. There was absolutely at one point white supremacy. There's no argument. In the '60s, you had Jim Crow laws. Black people were segregated on the different sides of the cities and different schools. No question about it. But they're still using that now to further divide people along the lines of race because the people at the top, who I call the parasite class, the billionaires and the military, these people do not want unity among the races.
Yes.
There was a phenomenon, if you remember, Occupy Wall Street. Everyone was there, every race, every ideology, and no one cared. And then they started pushing feminism and wage gaps just to remind the people, wait a minute, you should hate each other, not us,
It's
not the
divide
ones.
and
Yeah,
it's the
that's
divide
exactly what it
technique.
is. And in politics, it's the same thing. Sadly, that's how it is in America. So I tell people, listen, just transcend this stuff and try to work together against our common enemy, which is in DC. DC is the greatest threat to the American people, not
Mm,
China, not Russia, not Afghanistan, not Syria. None of these other countries are taking away my rights.
yes.
So
You,
that's
you,
the problem.
Lucas, the problem is not in the politicians because it's the job of the politician to also divide and conquer their own
Sure.
people. This is what they do.
Yeah.
But on a popular level, when I see lots of people believe in identity politics and gender identities and all this stuff, they do not really realize that they're pushing the society into tribalism. And when you
Yeah.
divide the society on tribal lines, you increase the possibility of clashes between these
Sure.
different groups, and it's all based on the skin color, ethnicity, gender, etc., etc. But nobody is talking about a difference of opinion, difference of
Right.
thought, and like they're like one colored thoughts, but different different in how
Yeah.
they look. This is, in my opinion, is not how diversity look like. And I realized something, Lucas, recently, and I can say with great confidence, at least a year ago, lots of Muslims in the United States and outside of the United States, they are watching the conservative podcasts in the United States. They are more feeling embedded with the conservative movements in the States, in Europe. They are translating, subtitling Jordan Peterson
Yes.
and lots of these influencers, let's say conservative influencers, because they feel like they're speaking their minds, and
Hmm.
they are abandoning the Democratic Party lines, which has gone really too far, even for the people who came as migrants to the
Oh
United
yeah.
States, and they're not finding themselves fitting in the democratic
Well,
values.
even Latino people look. Islam is very conservative. They don't believe in LGBTQ. Open. But so are the Latinos are also coming from from the South. They're coming here and they're Catholic. And in Catholicism, they don't accept this crazy non-nuclear family, ten fathers, and all this crazy stuff we're seeing here. So the radical left has gone way too far. It's pushing people to the right. So again, I don't like left versus right politics anyway. I think it's stupid regardless, but that's what's happening. And that's why a lot of Muslims, when they go to different countries, they're like, well, wait a minute, I don't believe in this neoliberal nonsense. I believe in a nuclear family, traditional marriage, and everything. So of course they're naturally going to align with right-wing parties, which is fine, I
Yes,
guess. But as you're going back to identity politics, it's important that I think it's okay to preserve your own race and ethnicity and your culture. That's beautiful, but not to become hypocritical where you protect people from your culture that are doing bad. Oh, he's not bad because he's one of us. And it is important to make sure everyone, you have to have the same values as someone. As long as you and someone next to you has the same values, they're your friend. They're
yes,
your ally. If you have someone who's white, who's a liberal who wants to kill me, it's not my friend just because he's white. So it's like a lot of people think along those lines where that trumps all things, but it doesn't. Really, it's ideology. How you think you should live is more important than everything else, if you
yep.
ask me.
To be honest, the other day I saw a video of
Mhm.
Muslim parents one of the schools in California, and they are really
Yeah.
complaining against the board of the teachers and the administration, that they are pushing this LGBTQ plus agenda on sexualizing basically the kids.
Oh, yeah.
Like those are minors, and I truly believe this is an evil. If you convince me or anyone else that a minor can decide to change his gender, and he is mature enough to do that, then I think you're also giving the permission for older or mature people to even have sex with minors, because if they can give consent about their changing their gender into another gender, then they can also give a consent about having sex.
Mhm.
So this is all leading to the same path, which is really, really, really evil in my opinion. But if we come back to Ilhan Omar, I'm gonna read this paragraph here. They
Sure.
say Republican lawmakers booted Omar for her previous remarks on Israel, which were deemed quote anti-Semitic by both Democrats and Republicans. As per the Washington Post report, Omar caused a stir in 2019 when she suggested that quote Israel's allies in US politics were motivated by money rather than principle. Through her tweet, it's all about the Benjamins, baby, referring to this 100 bills? Yeah,
hundred
100
dollar
bills.
bills. Yeah.
$100
The
bills. Okay.
Benjamin Franklin's on the $100 bill.
Ah, okay, now I understand.
Yeah, yeah.
So if
But
you
but
say,
it's true, isn't it?
but this is really, really, I really want to understand this.
Yes.
She's making a point here and says that there are Israeli lobbies
Yeah.
basically in the United States, and there is business interest and money interest between the both sides. It's not about values. What is the where is the anti-Semitism exactly in this statement?
There is no anti-Semitism. Israel has lobbies. APAC is actually an American lobby that is. It gets away with what it does because it's an American lobby for Americans to send money to Israel. Like, hey, we volunteer. It has a lot, but that's one of the many several lobbies there. Um, so the lobbies are. She's basically saying it's all about the money because the Americans who are taking it are betraying their own country's interests, which is not anti-Semitic. It's not really at all. But they're going to call it that because the argument is, well, it goes back to the trope that Jews run the banks and they have all the money and they buy people's allegiances, and that's where they're arguing. But she's just making a point that the Israeli connection with American it is about money. It really is. Just like any lobby has money. There's lobbies from Saudi Arabia that put money. There's Asian lobbies from China. There, all lobbies use money. So there's nothing. It's not like it's pointing out just the Israeli lobby is the only lobby that has money. But she's saying that that's why the policies reflect that way they do for Israel because Americans are taking the money. So she's talking about the people taking the money. That's the way I interpreted the tweet.
Hmm.
So there's nothing anti-Semitic about that. But again, that goes because look, one of the There was a documentary called The Lobby. I think it was from Al Jazeera, talking about how APAC literally targets people, calling them just call them anti-Semitic, just keep calling them that, and they'll eventually bend and break. So it's a
This was
strategy.
revealed. This was revealed in this documentary
Oh yes,
also via secret webcams on the
yes, yes.
chest of the people who did the
Yeah.
investigation, and literally the lobbyists were using this card against
Right.
anyone who would dare to question this. I think what Omar made a mistake here, although I really dislike Omar, just to be
Hmm.
clear, but
Right.
the
Well,
mistake that.
they'll say you're a friend of
Uh,
his just by talking. That's what happened to
uh,
me. I mentioned it, like, she said something true. Oh, you must support her. You're
yeah,
BDS.
no.
I'm like, where am I BDS? I don't think.
No, no, I really don't like her,
Yeah.
but I want to be objective here.
Yeah. Of
The
course.
mistake that she did, in my opinion, in this tweet is that she only specified the money, because the relationship between Israel and the United States is about money, of course, but goes even
Goes
beyond
further than
that.
that. Yes.
So much geopolitical interest and mutual, I would say, on diplomatic, economic, politics, military, and even beyond that. But one of the Democratic representatives, the colleague of Ilhan Omar, and I'm gonna really play this video, and there are
Hmm.
two versions of it, by the way.
Sure.
I really want your patience on this.
Hmm.
I mean, I haven't seen any fake um, actor as much as AOC is, and she's here basically saying that the Republicans ousted AOC because she's a woman of color. Let's watch.
Right.
Don't tell me that this is about a condemnation of anti-Semitic remarks when you have a member of the Republican caucus who has talked about Jewish space lasers and an entire amount of tropes, and also elevated her to some of the highest committee assignments in this body. This is about targeting women of color in the United States of America. Don't tell me, because I didn't get a single apology when my life was threatened. Thank you.
Um, I will show you the other version. Also,
Hmm.
it is really funny. Somebody actually added a clown face on her. This is from the Clown Word
Hmm.
Twitter account.
Yep.
Don't tell me that this is about a condemnation of anti-Semitic remarks when you have a member of the Republican caucus who has talked about Jewish space lasers and an entire amount of tropes, and also elevated her to some of the highest committee assignments in this body. This is about targeting women of color in the United States of America. Don't tell me, because I didn't get a single apology when my life was threatened. Thank you.
Lots of people in the live chat, they're saying so cringe.
Yeah. It is. It is correct. But you see, Kavark, here in America, that's the argument. It's racism. It's anti-woman. It's anti-Muslim. No, it's just a move from the Republicans. Okay, we got the power in the House. Let's get rid of every Democrat in our way. And it's the Israelis' lobbies, no question. It's their bidding too. But it's not about women of color. It's none of that. But that's why the identity politics is disingenuous.
Hmm.
They don't hate her for being that because she's a Muslim. They don't hate her at all for that.
But this is beyond beyond funny, because she's treating the people who voted for her, people who maybe like her, people may be interested in listening to her arguments, people may change their mind about her. She's truly treating them like a sheep. She's disrespecting their intelligence. She's
Right.
uh, telling them, oh, look, I am a woman of color. I'm still here. They didn't oust me,
Yeah.
but they ousted her because she is a woman of color. Like, the controversy in what she says is so beyond
But
ridiculous.
she makes a point about the Jewish. That's she's saying. Margie Taylor Greene got higher positions while, you know, saying Jewish space lasers and meeting Nick Fuentes and all these other things that she's been, charged with doing. So she makes a point about hypocrisy, but that's politics, you see, because the Republicans are going to do what they have to do to get rid of the Democrats and
But she
leave the
didn't
right.
dare to mention Israel. She didn't
No,
say that the
no,
Israelis are
of course not.
behind ousting Omar.
And by the way, isn't it? Didn't Ilhan Omar actually support giving money to the Ukraine war?
Yeah,
So
this
you
is
see,
really
yeah,
important.
you
And
see.
she voted, AOC also voted for
Oh, and
sending
even her, yep.
over.
Hmm.
So basically, Omar was accused of anti-Semitism for making statements like Israel's allies in U.S. politics were motivated by money
Yep.
rather than principle, but isn't sending over $100 billion to Ukraine, which has widespread neo-Nazi scene and even neo-Nazi self-identified
Yes.
Nazi battalions, more anti-Semitic?
Of course it is. That's why the Ukraine is such a mess. It's they have Azov battalion. They have people who worship Stevan Bandera, who literally murdered Jews by the tens of thousands, according to history. There, so it is interesting that we. But this is all we see is hypocrisy nonstop from all the sides. So yes, of course, it's absolutely insane that she is getting supposedly upset about this thing, but it's anti-Semitic. But it's okay to be anti-Semitic over here to support the war. Let's give money
Hmm.
to these neo-Nazis. It's okay to give it to them here, but you can't say this and you can't do that. And it's just there's always a mask of work. That's why it's to
Hmm.
me. It's
Hmm.
that's why it is clown. We live in clown world. All we can do is laugh about it, really, while it's happening.
But is there a genuine discussion in the United States, at least, let's say, on a street level, on a level of people, ordinary people among themselves, about where is this money going, and
Sure.
do they really know that there are neo-Nazi battalions? Because the media is not mentioning it, but at least is there any discussion among the people?
Well, what I see the split is this: anyone on the left does not believe neo-Nazi battalions, and they believe we have to send the money to save Ukraine. It's democracy. We got to stop Putin. He'll take over the planet. But the right-wing conservative people are the ones saying audit the money. What's going on? There's Nazis there, so there's like a flip. And someone actually wrote an article. I think his name is Jeffrey Sachs. I believe his name is,
Yes,
or David
yes.
Sachs.
Jeff,
Jeffrey's a,
there are two Sachs. Jeff
yeah,
is
one's a professor. Okay, so this
Professor Jeffrey.
yeah, so he wrote an article about the woke world three, where we see this really strange phenomenon where the left is aligning themselves with the war machine rather than the right. Usually it's the right,
Yes,
and the left is trying to stop them. But now we're seeing the left, the woke left, uniting with the war machine to make Ukraine super diversity and LGBTQ, and you got to stop evil, fascist Putin. He's going to take away your rights to be in the streets, naked or whatever, and that's what they're doing, and it's working somehow. So because I really see that division, it's
hmm,
literally black and white. You see these people on Twitter, Ukraine flag, and that's what and then you see other people Russian flag with a Z. It's literally
yes,
divide and conquer once again. I'm saying, hey, let's talk. Let's talk. I made a video a while back. It went viral. Let's sit down and have peace talks. I know you lost some land, but let's talk now before it gets worse. Everything you and I, of others, have said that this war is only going to get worse for the Ukrainians has come true. So
yes,
we're trying to stop these wars. And no, we might have pushed it all. No matter what happens, we'll never stop. And of course, EU, NATO, US, they want to fight to the last Ukrainian, and it's a tragedy. So I'm saying, you're saying, all of us anti-war activists, anti-imperialists are saying, let's stop the war, let's talk. And Zelensky, no, because he's being told not to say. He's told to say no. He can't even talk to Putin about peace. And the left is pushing it. The NAFO bots, you see these people pushing it. It is the most propagandized war I've ever seen
yes.
in my lifetime.
I think so too. Even the Syrian case didn't get as much of amplified propaganda. There was so much propaganda, but now the social media tools have become
Oh
so
yeah.
strong. But it's so easy for me to detect the bullshit on
Oh yeah. Of
on
course.
social media. You can
Yeah.
smell it. It stinks really. And to be honest, I'm really sad because the so-called left, I will not even call them left, the so-called left is embedded with the neo-Nazis and also embedded with the Islamists in Syria.
Oh yeah.
Because I come from a left-wing background and I come from an anti-imperialist background, and I have never identified myself as a right-wing, but I'm finding a hard time in finding myself a place in the left-wing scene. That's my
Yep.
problem. There are only very few left-wingers left, and when these left-wingers like speak and give us narratives, it sounds like it's a right-wing rhetoric because the right-wingers are also speaking similar rhetoric,
Well,
but
look at
it's
Jimmy
not.
Dore. Look at Jimmy Dore.
Exactly. He
They're
was he
calling him.
was in my mind. I was even talking about him
Jimmy
in my
Dore
mind.
is apparently a left wing guy, and now they're calling him a right wing guy. And he was on Fox News, and even Bill Maher, who I didn't really care for, even he's saying, "Look, this transgender stuff is way too far," and he's trying, and the COVID stuff is too far. And you're getting this from these people. Like, wait, I thought you were, because it's getting too crazy. The media is amplifying the ultra left and the ultra right.
Mhm.
So it's either you're this guy, ultra left, drag queen story, or you're a neo-Nazi Hitler lover. That's all they're amplifying. Most people are decent in the middle, and we have a little bit of differences, but we're not being the normal and the 80% of the population. We're not being amplified. So we're just
No,
seeing these crazy people yelling at each other. We're like, what's going? Who do I follow now? I say
because they're
left.
loud. Because they're
Yes.
loud.
Well, the media is promoting it too. But also, I tell people these left wing, white, it's meaningless at this point. It's lost all of its meaning whatsoever. It's really good people against the system. It's us
Yes.
people against the system. And whatever differences we have among each other right now, we got to put them aside a little bit and focus on what I call the parasite class, the Wall Street billionaires, military industrial complex, big pharma. Look what big pharma just did to us. We got to focus on these people, not each other with little differences. We could take care of that later. So that's why I tell people left ring, white ring, what does that even mean anymore? I mean,
Yeah.
look, the
No.
Democrats and Republicans, when it comes to war, they're always on the same page, pretty
Yes.
much. They're
Yes.
like, oh, I'm against it, but they're really not. I mean,
No.
it's just dog and pony show.
They are for war and the continuation of war with different means and with different
Yes.
tools and with different speeches, right?
And it's not this country, another country. So
Yeah.
each party has their own country to go to war with.
This is what I said the other day, that if Trump was in power now, the war would not have happened with Russia. That's true. But we would have gone to war with China or with
Exactly.
Iran.
Either way you pick it, it's left wing, right wing. It's the same bird. It's the same wing of the warhawk. Left wing warhawk. It's just the same bird is there. It's attached to
Yeah.
the same bird. So.
But it's more. I believe there is more freedom of speech and thought in the center right, let's say, in the United States and in Europe, more than the left. Like, for example, Tucker Carlson, he's not center left, center right, but still is a right wing, let's say, TV show host, right? But he's giving an opportunity for someone like Jimmy Dore to come and say what he say on television, and for the one of the biggest TV shows in the United States, and he's not even interrupting him, because Jimmy Dore said things that goes against the reporting of Tucker Carlson himself, when he said things about China, for example. China is not your enemy, and then Tucker Carlson 5 minutes later he's repeating the old cassette against China, right? But he's giving a chance for someone to speak. If Jimmy Dore goes on MSNBC, they will not let him speak.
Right.
They will interrupt him every single moment.
Yeah, I mean, Tucker is probably the most free, or liberal like person to let people speak than all the other channels. But everyone else, yeah, they would shut down everyone. Oh, you're unpatriotic. You're a China shill. You're that's what you would see from every other channel for sure.
I'm trying to find this video of Jimmy Dore on Tucker Carlson. I posted it on my Twitter account. I retweeted it. I will just show it to the audience because it's so hilarious on so many levels. Yeah. Let's share this video.
And Jimmy I agree with everything he says.
Yes, me too.
So what party is that? What is that party?
Look, Tucker Carlson listened him for 4 minutes.
Yes.
He didn't interrupt him.
We're the ones provoking this war, just like we provoked the war in Ukraine. We are now provoking a war with China. And who benefits? I'll tell you right now, your enemy is not China. Your enemy is not Russia. Your enemy is the military-industrial complex, which has been fleecing this country to the tunes of hundreds of billions and trillions of dollars. How many times are we going to have a defense secretary say, hey, we can't account for $2 trillion in the Pentagon again? Which has happened twice now in my lifetime. So again, people are being the war machine cannot be stopped. Who's running this country? The war machine. It certainly isn't Joe Biden making these decisions. I would like to know who is making the decisions. And I just want to remind everybody, the United States is the world's terrorist. We just set the Middle East on fire in the last 20 years. And now we're doing a proxy war in Ukraine, which we provoked, NATO provoked, and it was just admitted that we provoked it by the former prime minister of Germany. And now we're trying to saber rattle with China, and they're predicting a war. Again, China's not going to invade us. China's not our enemy. We might have an economic war. That's what these are. These are economic wars. These are wars for, in Ukraine, it's about liquefied natural gas and making sure Germany and Russia never come together because we fear Russia's natural resources and manpower, and we fear them getting together with Germany with their technology and their capital. And so that's why we blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. That's why we're doing the Ukraine war. This is all about hegemony, imperialism, and economics. And if there's a Marine somewhere, it's there because they're about to steal some natural resources from another country. As everybody's screaming about what a bad guy Putin is for invading Ukraine, the United States is currently occupying a third of Syria. And which third is that? It's the third that has the oil. And how do I know we're there to steal their oil? Because the president of the United States said so.
I mean, that moment when a comedian can make a better geopolitical analysis than all these so-called geopolitical analysts and in think tanks. But speaking of China, what's this drama about the Chinese balloon, bro? What's happening?
That balloon, man, it's a threat to our security. I mean, look, I am shocked that it got to float around that long. Apparently, they just shot it down at Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, off the coast there, because that was the argument. Well, we can't shoot it down. It's like 6,000 pounds, some crazy weight that we didn't know about. I think it was 6,000 pounds, but they said if they shot it down, the debris might land somewhere and hurt people or something, which is probably a legit excuse. But they finally shot it down. I think it's been 2 days now, 3 days. Has it been 2 days?
Yes.
So they say it was a Chinese balloon. The Chinese said that they didn't purposely let that happen.
But it is Chinese, right? It is Chinese. So we can agree that it is Chinese.
They stated it was there. Like, well, yeah, this is, one of our balloons that went off track or something. But there's no markings on it. So it could be anyone's, but it's probably Chinese. And, we're always spying on everyone else. And this is another thing about American hypocrisy. We've done more damage to any country on this planet. We've been around, we're 247 years old. We've been at war for 96% of our time. So that's like 230 something years at war, funding war, proxy wars. So who are we to say anything about anyone? I'm not saying two wrongs make it right. I don't like anyone spying on my country. But all we do is spy on other people's countries, overthrow governments, assassinate people.
But do we even know that this is a spying balloon? Because for me, just logically, I don't understand anything about spying.
Why would they spy?
Would you send,
Why
would you
they
send
said
such
this
a
giant
balloon?
Yeah, I don't think it probably is a weather balloon. It probably, but they're saying it floated across, high value targets like missile silos. So it could be, look, if the Chinese are being smart, it's just a weather balloon and it's taking pictures, but they have satellites. I'm sure they could see anyway. I mean, who knows, right? So to us, it might be, illogical, but there could be a trick there. Either way, it's something that I think is a distraction as well, because right now in Ukraine is not going so well for our proxy military there. The Russians are mobilizing hundreds of thousands of people, and Bakhmut is pretty much really getting hit hard. So I think this is like, look at that balloon over there, and don't look at Ukraine because all our money's being wasted and destroyed. And Zelensky said he's going to fight and hold Bakhmut, but they need that equipment, and it's not going to get there in time. So by the time these tanks show up 6 months later, and the Patriot missiles that take 6 to 9 months to train, not even to get there, the war will be over, I would hope, So I think the balloon is just another way also is to just get people looking into the sky and just not focusing on other problems in our country and abroad as well.
Lucas, if I want to end up this brilliant conversation with you, I would like to hear from you a little bit about your book, Thoughts and Reflections on Life, guys. As I mentioned, the book, the link for you is in the description below if you like to order it. I would like to listen from Lucas because he's an author and a philosopher, and he published the book. So it would be really interesting to hear his.
I'm very happy to have this opportunity to share with the audience. So I wrote a book called Thoughts and Reflections on Life by Lucas Gage. If you guys have ever read the works of Marcus Aurelius, the Emperor of Rome, he wrote a book called Meditations. And that very, very much inspired me because he was truly a very powerful man. And he wrote notes to himself, never supposed to be published. And he was a Stoic philosopher. So I formatted my book similar to his. So this book is not like any other book. I've actually asked people, have you ever read a book like this? They go, no, because there's 21 sections in this book, and each section has 15 entries. And the entries could be a paragraph, a sentence, 2 pages, and every entries different from the other one you just read. So it's not like chapter 1 and it's 80 pages of boring stuff. It's section 1 and then there's 15 entries and they're all different. And it's a lot of things that I've learned to get over suffering, depression. It's a self-help book, but there's also political stuff in there too, like how the country should be organized. So everyone who's ever read this book has loved the book. If you go to my Amazon, it has 5 stars. I have one troll who gave me a 1 star because I'm sure I pissed him off on Twitter. But everyone else who's read it, friends and family, those who purchased it, they all love it. They said it really influenced them. In fact, yesterday I did a podcast with someone who read it. They were just loved everything about it. So it will definitely help you improve in your life, help you tame your ego. We all have egos. We're all afraid of the future or worried about the past. So this, and especially in our world today, especially in clown world, it's an absolute must read to help you learn how to tame your ego, not worry so much about this and not worry about your regrets, and find peace in the now. Because, you know, I'm a former Marine. I have PTSD, and I found many ways to deal with it in my life so I can improve my relationships with my friends and family, to get back to this important anti-war work, which is very, you know, frustrating at times, but now I could do it correctly. And I credit myself because I wrote my ideas down in the book here.
Of course.
So I really recommend everyone to read it. Of course, I think it's a good book because I wrote it. But you know, just check it out yourself and see. It's on Amazon for $9.99 for paperback, $2.99 for Kindle. And you know, just check it out there. You can go to my website, Lucas Gage, as well. You could also email me if you have any questions. I always answer emails. I'm a very open person. I want to help people get better because I've done it with myself. So at least I can give back to society like that as well. Other than doing these commentaries, I also want to make people feel better about life itself because, you know, life can get tough. So
Lucas, I truly feel the enthusiasm inside you, and I feel that you're genuine in your thoughts. I can feel. I'm a person that I can feel when someone is trying to help, and that is why I wanted to recommend this book to my audience. Guys, if you go to the website in the description below and you go just down, you can see this buy, and it will just direct you to the Amazon link. As he mentioned, there is a Kindle version, right? The electronic version and also the paper version. I checked it. It's available in the United States. You can also email him on the website if you're in a country that maybe the book isn't really reachable there. And yeah, Lucas, this was a really amazing chatting with you again on Syriana analysis. Guys, his Twitter account, again, in the description below. Go and hit him a follow. He has his old Twitter account back from
2 years.
released 2 years released from the Twitter jail, thanks to Uncle what was his name? Elon Musk.
Yeah. Uncle Elon. Yeah.
Uncle Elon. And hope none of you get banned, guys. Be careful. Social media is still there's so many snakes out there and so many trolls and NAFO trolls. Lucas, thank you so much again.
Yeah, honor and a pleasure, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you, bro. Guys, thank you very much for watching this show tonight. If you're new, subscribe, hit the like button, all this stuff, you know, the YouTubers tell you. And if you want to support my independent work, there are 3 different means in the description below. And see you next